It felt like Justin Fields never caught a break, and that's because Joey Bosa never let him. From the opening snap to the moment Fields was pulled from the game, Bosa was in his face, in his space, and frankly, living rent-free in his head. You don't need advanced analytics to know the man was dominant. Just ask Fields, who's probably still seeing number 97 in his nightmares. This was one of those performances that reminded fans why the Bills went out and got Joey Bosa in the first place. Not just for pressure, not just for presence, but for game-changing, tone-setting, soul-snatching dominance. And what stood out even more, this wasn't just a good game from Bosa. It was a healthy Bosa doing what he was born to do. When he spoke post-game, you could hear it in his voice. This is a man who's finally feeling like himself again. He said it plainly. He's having fun again. And that's bad news for the rest of the league. Because a Joey Bosa who's feeling good, moving freely, and playing with that kind of joy, that's the kind of player who doesn't just sack quarterbacks. He ruins game plans. He changes momentum. He forces coaches to rip up entire parts of the playbook because nothing works when he's in this kind of zone. That strip sack early on? Massive. Set the tone. It wasn't just a turnover, it was a message. And that message was clear. The Bills' defense didn't just show up, they showed up angry. They took week 1 personally. They took the criticism personally. And they responded in the best way possible by absolutely smothering a Jets offense that, just a week ago, looked competent against Pittsburgh. But let's not kid ourselves. This was a beating, a clinic, an execution. Call it what you want, but don't call it close. By the time the third quarter rolled around, fans were already filing out of the stadium. That's how lopsided it was. And it wasn't because Josh Allen threw for 4 touchdowns or put on a highlight reel performance. In fact, Allen didn't need to be spectacular. And that might be the most important thing of all. For the first time in a long time, Buffalo didn't need their quarterback to put on a cape and be Superman. The defense took care of that. And it wasn't just Bosa. This entire unit played with a different energy, a different edge. They were faster, more aggressive, and just flat out more physical. Guys like Christian Benford and Cole Bishop stepped up and made their presence felt. Bishop, in particular, was flying around, delivering hits, getting a sack, even picking up a personal foul that honestly felt more like a statement than a mistake. This defense had something to prove, and they proved it on every snap. Even with key players like Ed Oliver and Taron Johnson missing, the Bills didn't miss a beat. And yes, we can talk about how weak the Jets' offense looked. But let's give credit where it's due. The Bills made them look that way. Fields looked uncomfortable from a jump. He missed wide open targets early. Garrett Wilson on a key throw in the first quarter stands out, and it just spiraled from there. By the time he left the game with a potential concussion, he had barely scratched 40 yards passing. The only thing keeping the Jets from being shut out was a mercy field goal in garbage time. And even that felt more like a concession than a real attempt to claw back. What made it even worse for New York was that Buffalo didn't just dominate on defense. Offensively, they controlled the clock, won on third down, and imposed their will up front. James Cook, he was electric. Over 130 yards rushing, a touchdown that combined vision, speed, and pure physicality, and a vibe that screamed, "I'm the guy now." That run, where he hit the hole, made one filthy cut, and just exploded downfield, was the kind of play that makes you believe this offense doesn't have to live or die by Josh Allen's arm every week. And how about O'Cyrus Torrence? The big man laid down a clinic in run blocking on that Cook touchdown, sealing the edge and springing the run that blew the game open. It's easy to overlook the offensive line when things are clicking, but those guys were getting it done in the trenches. Speaking of Allen, no, this wasn't his best performance. He missed on a few throws, looked rattled at times early, and picked up 2 grounding penalties he probably wants back. But that's the thing. Even on an average day, he still led the offense with control, found multiple targets on key downs, and made the kind of decisions that show he's evolving. He's growing. He's maturing into the kind of quarterback who doesn't need to force the big play. When the Jets took away his first reads, he checked down. When the pocket collapsed, he made things happen with his legs, including a wild scramble early on that saw him leap over his own lineman and dart downfield like it was 2020 Josh all over again. And then there was the moment. You know the one. When Allen took a shot to the face and came off the field with blood pouring from his nose like he just went 12 rounds in the octagon. The crowd went silent. The sideline tensed. Mitch Trubisky stepped in, and on third down, cold off the bench, the backup delivered dart. It was one throw, but it mattered. That's what you want from your backup. Be ready. Execute. Don't screw it up. Trubisky did more than that. He kept the chains moving. That drive mattered. Allen came back in, stuffed with gauze and still bleeding, looking like a high schooler with a broken nose in the second half of Friday night game. But he was back, and he was fine, because that's what he does. He battles, he leads, and he wins. Even more encouraging was how many players got involved in the passing game. Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Elijah Moore, Josh Palmer. Allen spread the ball around like a veteran who knows that balance is the key to long-term success. And more, you could feel the fire from him. Back in a stadium he used to call home, scoring a touchdown and chucking the ball into the stands like a man with something to prove. That's the kind of edge this team had all game. The vibes on the sideline? Different. This wasn't just another win. It felt like a reset, like a statement to themselves as much as anyone else. After a rough week one, the Bills came out and reminded the league exactly who they are. Tough, deep, balanced, and dangerous. Even the coaching was sharp. Joe Brady stuck to what worked. Ran the ball, used tempo, mixed in the tight ends. Didn't try to get cute. Just smart, physical, methodical football. Sean McDermott, too. All business in the postgame, but with just enough of a grin when mentioning how nice it was to see Elijah Moore get in the end zone. Petty? Maybe, but good petty. And let's talk crowd. MetLife was dead. No energy, no fire, no home field advantage. Bills fans traveled well, and by the second half, it was louder for Buffalo than it was for New York. This is a building that once gave Josh Allen nightmares. Remember the turnovers, the pressers where he said, "I sucked." That place? Not anymore. This time it was different. He looked calm. The team looked calm. And the Jets? They just looked defeated. Which brings us back to where this all started. The defense. This wasn't just a blowout. It was a blueprint. It was a reminder that you don't need 5 takeaways and 40 points to dominate. Sometimes you just need to punch first and punch often. Get a 3-and-out to start. Get a stop on 4th down. Set the tone, break their spirit, and let your offense finish the job. The more you watched, the clearer it became. This was not about flashy stats or one superstar dragging the team across the finish line. This was about a team that found its identity again. From the sideline energy to the way the players celebrated every sack, every tackle for loss, every hard-fought 3rd down. The Bills look like a unit that remembered who they are and what they're capable of when every piece is locked in. And no one embodied that energy more than the front 7. Greg Rousseau, often overshadowed in games where Bosa takes over, showed up with relentless pressure. You could see it in his eyes. He wanted it. He knew this was the kind of game where if you get your name on the stat sheet, it's because you earned it, not because the quarterback handed it to you. It was no coincidence that Bosa and Rousseau were both still on the field deep into the 4th quarter. Yeah, maybe part of it was a little stat hunting. Who doesn't want another sack? But it also speaks to the edge this defense played with. They didn't want to stop. They didn't want to coast to the finish line. They wanted to punish. That attitude trickled down to every position group. The linebackers were flying to the ball. The corners were aggressive and physical at the line. Even with guys like Tre'Davious White just getting back into rhythm after missing time, the secondary looked sharp. There was a confidence to how they read plays, a quickness in how they closed in on ball carriers. And maybe most importantly, they tackled. Sounds simple, but it's something that plagued them in week 1. Missed tackles, poor angles, soft finishes. Not this time. When the Bills defenders got to the ball, they brought people down. And the Jets? They crumbled. You could feel it. The moment when the crowd stopped cheering. The moment when the coaches stopped chasing the game and just started surviving it. A field goal on 4th down 20 points? That's not belief. That's surrender. And later, punting when down by 24? That's waving the white flag. These are the kind of decisions that don't just cost you a game. They shake the locker room. You're telling your players, we're done here. And you could see the frustration on their faces. No urgency. No fire. Just survival mode. Which makes you wonder, what did the Bills do to crush that belief so early? It goes back to complementary football. Every time the defense got a stop, the offense answered with a drive that either ended in points or flipped field position. Every time the Jets thought they might get momentum, Buffalo shut the door. Whether it was a third down conversion, a hard run from James Cook, or a well-timed pass to a tight end, the Bills played like a team that had rehearsed every scenario. They looked prepared, and when one unit wobbled, the other picked them up. That's the kind of football that wins in December. In January, that's the kind of football that travels. And speaking of travel, the Bills fans turned MetLife into a second home. That crowd? Loud, present, proud. You could hear them after every big play. And that kind of support doesn't just lift players, it drains opponents. The Jets didn't just lose a game. They lost their home field. You could hear it in the way the Bills players talked after the game. There was a sense of, we own this place now. Not cocky, just confident. Earned. And credit to Josh Allen for managing the moment. It wasn't a highlight reel game for him, but that's what made it more impressive. Because for a guy who's built his career on big plays and jaw-dropping throws, this was a different kind of performance. It was smart, controlled, veteran. When the Jets forced him to go underneath, he didn't get greedy. He moved the chains. When the pressure came, he used his legs and protected the ball. And when he did take a shot to the face and left the field gushing blood, he came right back in and led another scoring drive. That's the kind of leadership that resonates. That's the kind of toughness that teams rally behind. It also doesn't hurt when your backup quarterback steps in cold and delivers a dime on third down. Mitch Trubisky didn't have to do much, but what he did mattered. That's the value of being ready. And the Bills coaching staff deserves credit for having every guy on that sideline prepared to step in and contribute. Let's not forget about the offensive line either. These guys aren't getting enough credit for the way they handled the talented Jets front. It wasn't perfect. The Jets got some pressure early, but they couldn't sustain it. As the game wore on, the Bills won the battle in the trenches. Whether it was creating space for Cook to work or giving Allen just enough time to make the right read, the O-line was physical, disciplined, and consistent. That's the foundation this team needs. Elijah Moore's touchdown was one of those poetic moments. In a stadium where his career once felt stuck, he broke free. You could feel the emotion, the celebration, the exhale, and the fact that the coaching staff made sure to get him that touchdown. That says a lot. It's not just XS and OS. It's relationships, moments, motivation. They knew what it meant to him, and he delivered. Even the small details, the Bills were sharp. Third down execution, clinical. Red zone efficiency, improved. Balance in the passing game, noticeable. They didn't rely on one guy. They didn't lean on Diggs to bail them out. They spread it out, kept the defense honest, and made the Jets pay for every soft coverage, every missed assignment, every bad angle. And it was physical, both sides of the ball. James Cook lowering his shoulder and running through a linebacker. The defense crashing down on reverses and blowing up plays in the backfield. These weren't finesse plays. These were statement plays. And they piled up. The kind of plays that were a team down mentally as much as physically. By the fourth quarter, the Jets were still running plays, but they weren't competing. They were just trying to get to the clock. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Breaking news is rocking the NFL universe. The Buffalo Bills may have just pulled off one of the most shocking moves of the offseason. Rumor has it that the Bills have signed none other than Sauce Gardner, the electric cornerback whose name has been lighting up highlight reels and draft boards for years. Sources close to the team are hinting that this isn't just a signing. It's a declaration. The Bills are putting their defense front and center, and Gardner is the crown jewel. Fans and analysts alike are buzzing, trying to process what this could mean. Gardner, known for his lockdown coverage, uncanny instincts, and ability to turn games upside down with a single play, seems like a perfect fit for a defense that has often flirted with greatness, but never quite dominated the league. The whispers around the league suggest that Buffalo's front office sees him as more than just a cornerback. They see him as a defensive leader, a player who can set the tone, dictate matchups, and elevate the entire unit. Imagine the Bills' secondary with Gardner calling the shots, orchestrating coverage schemes, and shutting down the league's top receivers. Of course, the NFL rumor mill never rests. Some insiders are questioning the financials, wondering how Buffalo pulled this off without hampering their cap space. Others are speculating about how this impacts the team's defensive scheme. Will the Bills lean more aggressively into man-to-man coverage, or will Gardner's versatility allow them to disguise packages and confuse offenses week after week? Social media is aflame. Bills fans are ecstatic, flooding feeds with memes, highlight reels, and what-if scenarios, while rivals are nervously calculating how to beat a secondary suddenly brimming with talent. The whispers around training facilities and locker rooms are even juicier. Could Gardner be the missing piece that finally pushes Buffalo from playoff contenders to true Super Bowl favorites? While nothing has been officially confirmed, one thing is certain. The NFL offseason just got a lot more interesting, and Buffalo's defense just became one of the most talked-about storylines heading into next season. Keep your eyes peeled. If this rumor holds any water, Sauce Gardner isn't just joining the Bills. He's about to change the way the league thinks about defense. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.